it's an old organisation that's being really brought back into some vigorous life.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, New Zealand Young Farmers first started in 1932, so we've got some real heritage on our side. And it was set up more than anything else as a social network to connect people. If you can imagine back, 80 odd years ago, communication wasn't very strong. Your nearest neighbour might have been 10 k's up the road.
And
so
you're in the grips of a depression.
Absolutely. So actually connecting people together was very important for all sorts of social reasons and some development reasons. And that hasn't really changed, but the way we do it's slightly different.
So what are you doing? Because there is a huge void of young people in farming.
Yes, and with the average age of farmers being in the 50s now, there's going to be a bit of a problem in the next decade or two. So we're working really hard to try and bring in a lot more young people that wouldn't have thought of farming or the primary industry as a career option. So, a generation ago, everyone was related or knew a farmer. Mm-hmm. But in this day and age, actually, there's a real disconnect. A lot of city people have no connection to farming whatsoever, and that's a concern.
The only connection they have is on the land.
Yes, that's right, exactly right. So what we're trying to do is we've got a whole lot of programs now with schools. So probably the biggest development Young Farmers did as an organisation 5 years ago was to actually start a teen ag, so a junior young farmers division, if you like, and have clubs in secondary schools. And to date, we're in just under 80 schools. And we've got a goal of getting to 200 high schools by within the next couple of years.
So what are the schools doing? I mean, young farmers you would think of as somebody who work on a farm and go to a meeting once a month or whatever and have a couple of jugs and that's it.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the issues for us as an organisation is that New Zealand Young Farmers as a name doesn't necessarily reflect what we do. So the whole primary industry these days isn't just about being on farm or in processor, but the actual career options for people in the industry is very wide. So it's agribusiness, the science attributes, the marketing attributes that we actually need to take New Zealand Inc. and its products overseas. If you want to be an engineer, brilliant. Go to school, do well, go and do an engineering degree. But there's loads of jobs within primary industry. You go and work for Fonterra or one of the meat companies, and there's some pretty challenging roles with high pay packets.
And we're going niche by the day, aren't we?
Absolutely. The whole talk of value add to our commodity-based primary industry economy is more and more relevant. Small players doing some really interesting things that need skilled, vibrant young people coming in to do these things.
So you don't have to be a farmer to be a young farmer?
Absolutely right.
So how do people find it? Obviously you've got a website of some sort.
Yeah, and obviously through our events that we do around the country, we're very much a community-based organisation. So we divide the country into 7 regions and 25 districts across the country. And we get out and actually just make sure that people know what we're doing actually in the community, whether it's at AMP showgrounds, whether we do events in city halls, and we do that around the country as well through our career advice evenings and days. A lot of active stuff in community is probably how we get our word out the most.
Terry, there must be people who watch the young farmers at AMP shows building fences and goodness knows what. There would be some who would go, I don't want to be a member of Young Farmers because I don't know how to build a fence. So you're catering for those who don't want to do the competitions and who don't want to put...
So the typical New Zealand Young Farmers Club has 3 kinds of member. There's those that literally just want to connect with people who think and act like they do in a social atmosphere. So it's a club. And you catch up with your mates and you have a good time. And you might do the odd event or the
very social
activity. Absolutely. And if that's all you want to do, brilliant. We provide a network and an organisation for you to have some fun, and by default, by turning up, you actually do learn some stuff. Yeah. But you might not focus on that. The second thing is those that want to enter our competitions to sort of better themselves and benchmark themselves against everybody else. Those that want to show to employers, actually, I'm the guy that can probably do the most for you. And they're out there doing it. And the third part is those that want to be future rural leaders, and they're the ones that we're sort of starting to shape now into leadership development programs, so that the next directors of Dairy NZ or the next provincial presidents of Federated Farmers have actually got some really good grounding before they get to that age where they think, hell, I need some skills in this area or some experience.
So there's a lot of learning as well as sampling wines.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's still a major part of it. Tell me about your contest, because you're halfway through the season for your Young Farmers Club.
Yep. So this year it's the 12th year that it's the ANZ involvement. initially through National Bank brand, but now through ANZ. So the ANZ Young Farmer Contest. It's gone really well. We've had 6 of our 7 regional finals so far. So the last one's this coming weekend up in Dargaville. But it's been a really successful season. The calibre of people coming through and competing has been absolutely brilliant. One of our best years, I think, in terms of the ability of these people. It's a real combination of some first-time grand finalists, so those that win their regional final go through to the national final, which will be in Taupo in July. Some of those people are first-timers, some are second-timers. You can only compete in grand final twice. And of course, if you win it, that's it. And yeah, really strong standard. And they're being tested on such a range of things. I mean, the contest isn't all about being big and strong and building fences or shifting hay bales or whatever it might be. There's an academic element, there's a business case, a marketing thing with HR strategies to do at the grand final. There's a whole lot of skills modules. There's general knowledge and agricultural knowledge being tested, as well as a sort of a decathlon type event where you compete head to head with your fellow competitors, and it might take 45 minutes to do this gruelling set of physical challenges.
Ooh, so yeah. To get that cloak of knowledge...
Yes, you're really someone. You've really got a complete package.
Yeah. What's the age limit as far as young farmers are concerned?
Yeah, currently 31. We have this terrible term that we call ageing out, which I really want to banish.
I think so, actually. I'd go with you on that one.
Yeah, so currently it's 31. Those sorts of things about our membership get reviewed. So historically, that was probably quite appropriate. When you finish at 30, but in your year that you've turned 30, you might still have your membership year carry over. Mm-hmm. So that's why we've made it 31. At some point in time, we might raise that to 35. That's sort of work in progress.
But then they can join things like Federated Farmers or Rural Women or...
Yes, absolutely. And, there's in the last sort of 6 months or so, there's been a real growing of the relationship between us and Federated Farmers, which is really, really positive. Hasn't always been the case in history.
But it's a natural flow through.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think there'd be logic there. But there's been a bit of water that's flowed under the bridge between the two organisations, 2 new CEOs, for example, which they actually get on with each other, which is very helpful. And we actually are starting to see the real benefits at both ends of the equation for having a sort of an alignment.
Exactly. Very briefly, international people who are here for a short time.
Yeah, migrant workers. It's as we all know, that's a big chunk of our industry. Certain parts of the country, like Southland, for example, has quite a large amount of Filipino workers, for example, that come in and work during the season. We welcome those in young farmer clubs, absolutely. We've got to make sure that we have some sort of cultural understanding of what they need to feel comfortable. Language barriers as such are only one issue, and the length of time that they're here. So to build those relationships, sometimes it takes a bit more than a season to get there. So we're working on that.
I'm sure you will. And thank you very much indeed. And all power to your elbow, because the future of farming is actually in your hands.
Thank you very much.